Remy Gray Show, and if you have been waiting for this program tonight, of course, we're scheduled to have Councillor Sema Serena Cephas, who happens to be the Solicitor General of Liberia. Upon contacting Mr. Cephas, he has promised to be on the show tonight, but only on audio. Unfortunately, I can't bring him on video via video, and I respect that privacy because he said he's home and he, for some reason, doesn't want to appear on video. Subsequently, if you can, if you've been tuning in to other news information disseminators, a lot have been said already because it is rumored that Councillor Cephas has been taped to be the next NEC boss, National Elections Commission boss. And Mr. Councillor Cephas, of course, upon contacting him, has dismissed the rumor as unfounded. And so he at least said, if it is true, not to his knowledge. But I've promised to bring him on audio, and once we get settled here, Mr. Cephas, Councillor Cephas, would be on. Just stay tuned as just stay tuned as we change over to our presentation room and try to see if we can do some Liberian music for you.
On a road,
Good day. Of course, if you're just joining me, this is the Colonel E. Remy Gray Show. And as you can hear already, I'm trying to see if I can connect with Councilor Sima Serena Cephas. As I indicated earlier, the gentleman could not appear via video. So I am trying to see if I could get a hold of him. And there he comes. Oh, all right. So he's trying to get in contact, but like I said earlier, the council will not be able to appear via video, but he will do an audio on behalf of us. Council, good day. Welcome to the microphone. Are you there, sir? Councilor Sima Serena Cephas, are you there? Hello. Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, sir, but there is a delay. I'm not sure where the delay is coming from the audio, but are you there? Councilor Cephas, are you there?
Are you back and on?
Yes. I'm on the air right now. You should.
Okay.
Do you?
Can you play myself?
I'm not sure. Maybe I could find another means to call you so I can get you. I can find another. Eh? Hold on. Hold on, Council. Let me see if I can find another way to call you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're still breaking up.
change my position.
Yes, it's kind of clearer now.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It's nice talking to you.
Yes, Council. Of course, I do have quite a bit of audience right now listening to us. And welcome to the microphone. Welcome to the Colonel E. Remy Gray Show. You are no stranger to this program, and a lot of people have been. Firstly, let us make sure we have the right person. Our listeners would like to confirm whether this is Councillor Serena Cephas. And of course, I have indicated that you will not be able to appear via video, but at least.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everybody wants to see me live, and I don't really know. But they have seen me on many occasions live.
Okay.
And I always say it's an opportunity to exchange these frank and brutal views, be frank and brutal with one another, but without violence, and keeping our nerves and our emotions from running high. When it comes to discussing Liberia, every Liberian has a part to play, and I clearly subscribe to that. So it's always a pleasure when you make these calls and we seek our participation. We have to surrender ourselves to you.
Thank you very much, my dear land councillor and brother. Of course, there's this hoopla. Let's clear the way first. There's been this big hoopla about how it's a widely spread rumor that you would be replacing Councillor Ndubuisi Wamudiki. Of course, you and I, we've talked about it. I know the answer, but it's always okay to hear it from the horse's mouth. Tell us a little bit what you know about the replacement of the rejected nominee for NEC, National Elections Commission.
One thing I know for sure, and I've said it over and over, is that Mune an RCC lawyer that is searching. If you go on the website, you find it there. And I'm also a European criminal lawyer that is searching. If you go on the website, it's there. I'm also a European fraud and compliance lawyers, group. So if you go on the website, you find the evidence there. And I'm also a member of the Liberia National Bar Association, which is a local bar and facing all of the problem. Those are clear and distinctive facts that I can clearly defend at every level, but on the issues you raise, I have no idea, and certainly I don't respond to rumor. And the only reason is that I'm a lawyer. As a lawyer, I deal with facts that are supported by compelling and incontrovertible evidence. So really, I don't respond to speculation. I have no idea, and I've seen some of the exchanges for and against, and I've been debated here and there. But I like the exercise because when you're a public official, your life is in the mirror. Everybody looks at you in the mirror, and everybody tries to dress you up. Some try to undress you. It's part of the healthy democratic exchanges of ideas and views.
Great. And
so I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
All right. So it is clear from you that you have no idea of any pending appointment to replace the outgoing NEC boss, Jerome Kokoya. So we too should.
No idea.
Is there any reason why such an unfounded rumor would just take the airwave? Because in our local parlance we say where there is smoke there is almost fire. So why you?
Yeah. The problem is that when you are a public official doing a great job in the Department of Prosecution, prosecuting and successfully getting the verdict in favor of the state, in favor of the republic, your life become life that is in the mirror. So everybody want to dress. I said it. Everybody want to dress you down. Some people want to dress you up. So it's obvious that this kind of thing happened, but I have no idea absolutely. As I indicated, I can confirm on the record I'm an ICC lawyer. I can confirm on the record I'm a European criminal lawyer, duly certified. I can also confirm I'm a European fraud and compliant lawyer. I can also certify on the record I'm part of the legal team for the African Court on Human and People's Rights based in Arusha and Tanzania. These are valid, issues that are totally incontrovertible. I can confirm to you 100%. You can check the website. I'm vice president of the AEA, the International European Lawyer Association, and vice president of the advisory board of the Justinian Lawyer, the only African who can say that post. So these are things that are real. If you go to the website, you can find it. Even if you are looking for a European lawyer and you go on the website, you'll see my name and they will tell you that I'm based in Liberia and everything. These are things that I can confirm. But rumor about people being here, I'm not a politician, so I aspire not to be one either. So most time, I like the debate because it's part of the healthy democratic exercise of the free exchange of ideas. But what I hate is that free expression is not free lies. Freedom of lies, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. But we don't have freedom of lies. What we've seen, and it's a new number. That freedom of expression has become freedom of lies.
And of course, on the line there, I have Councillor Sema Serena Cephas. Currently, Sema Serena Cephas Esquire is the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, and there is a big. There's also a big situation about you wanting the Minister of Justice's job, and so as a result, you're doing everything to unseat him. This is one also widespread rumor, and I've seen you testifying to that moment at the Senate. What do you have to say about that, sir?
Well, I've also said that I can confirm on record, as I indicated, what I am and what I hope to be. I do not aspire for anyone's job, and the Minister of Justice, Attorney General, is a colleague, a professional colleague of the Liberian Supreme Court Bar, and my professor for law school. In age and experience, in practice, in procedure, he has been there long before me. Though when it comes to the kind of greater international influence and comparative legal practices around the world, may have the edge, but he remains a senior to me, and I do not intend in any form, manner, or shape to try to disrespect him or to seek his job. Certainly not. It's absolutely preposterous that people will try to conjecture and try to insinuate and bring in lies and disinformation with the sole intent to wedge us apart. We have a fairly good cordial relation, certainly unmatched in every degree and by every stretch of the imagination. So it's absolutely preposterous, as I said, for anyone to arrive or make such allegations against me. I have no such record. I'm a humble, hardworking, dedicated, and diligent Liberian citizen. Somebody who has the love for job and the courage to do it as always.
Arthur Johnson was your colleague at the office there, trying to prosecute or trying to, to recover stolen asset belonging to the Republic of Liberia. And based on his own description of why the process is not successful the way it should be, and as a matter of fact, I think Liberian is being sued right now by Crane Corporation, the organization that prints currency for many countries around the world, because the Republic of Liberia, through either the presidency or the Minister of Justice, issued a declaration that sort of clear Crane from being held liable for, illegally printing money and so on and so forth. And one of the assets you were trying to recover was money printed illegally by the National Bank Prexy at the time in the person of Weeks and of course Sirleaf, the deputy governor. So the cabal has been this the same cabal, but there's a guy named Eugene Fangon, the deputy minister. He calls that a cartel. And among the individuals who are actually stalling the process because there's a lack of will is your boss, the Minister of Justice. And Arthur went to work, Councillor Johnson went to work and adequately described what he meant by the lack of will. Do you subscribe to such an opinion by your former colleague, Councillor Johnson?
Did I hear you to say that Queen Currency has sued the Republic of Liberia?
I think because they were for defamation. I understand plans are in the way to sue the Republic of Liberia for defamation because the Minister of Justice, even though you guys were pursuing Crane as one of the co-conspirators in the illegal printing of our national currency, the Minister of Justice actually, took the opposite opinion, meaning that Crane Currency did nothing wrong, and so therefore, as a result, they cannot be held liable. You, on the other hand, heading a recovery effort, at the Solicitor General's office. I can't recall the name given to it by Councillor Arthur Johnson, but they're saying that
it's not ARRET. Asset Investigation, Restitution, and Recovery Team, ARRET.
Okay, thank you very much. And Arthur Johnson, A-R-E-T.
Yeah, A-R-R-E-T. ARRET.
A-I-R-R-E-T. Yeah, so, but
yeah,
Councillor Johnson went to work, clearly give reasons why there's lack of willpower, and the president's willing.
Let me address.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Let me address because I'm a bit troubled by this may seem a speculation, but I'm troubled deeply by what seems a glaring insinuation that Crane Currency is planning a lawsuit against the Republic of Liberia. I'm absolutely troubled by that. But be that as it may, this is still a rumor. But let me explain. One of the issues, Councillor Johnson, it is his opinion. Councillor Johnson is a Liberian citizen entitled to his opinion. But to suggest that there is no clear and definitive political will to fight corruption, I think was an overstatement. More so because that clearly, demonstrably, was reflected in my resolve in prosecuting Honorable Bani Samukat and convicting him for financial fraud and misuse of public funds. We have the unflinching and unbending support of the government of Liberia. The president has made it clear decisively to fight corruption at every level, at every stratum of the Liberian government. And I have the unwavering support of the president of the government, and the key policy decision of the government is clearly and distinctly to fight corruption. Clearly, we have not changed that course of action yet. That remains the focus and remains the policy decision of the government of Liberia. So the expression, the opinion expressed by my great friend at the beginning of his departure from the team, though to a large extent was seen as a blow to all, but it has strengthened our resolve to fight independently and continue the fight. It was just unfortunate, but to suggest that there is no political will absolutely is untrue.
And the last time you were here, of course, in the States, you had come to see if you could establish corridors that can assist you in the recovery of our national stolen asset. And I understand millions and millions of dollars, of course, were starched away by former government officials of the Republic of Liberia, and some of those guys are here with those stolen assets. And you had come to see if you could set up a corridor, and unfortunately, according to Arthur Johnson, there is oh, okay, I lost him. Council, I'm not sure why you there? Hang on.
Equally, it's entitled to his opinion, and I got it cleared, and on support, I have the clear and unwavering support of the government of Liberia, vis-a-vis the president, to fight corruption, and we will fight corruption at every stratum of the Liberian government, and the mandate remains, of course. His departure to a large extent significantly it affected our sales, but it didn't change the course of our sale. We're still heading towards the same direction. So I hereby categorically reject and deny that there is no political will. There is a strong and unwavering political will to fight corruption. Yes.
No, I mean, he said there are layers. What he was saying is the president of the Republic of Liberia is willing. But he is led by a corp of advisors, some of whom actually don't want to see us proceeding in the recovery of stolen assets because they themselves are subjects of investigation. So as a result, they are creating bottlenecks.
Yeah.
So let me clarify what he said. It's not that the willpower does not exist with the executive. It does exist, but there are layers.
Yeah, let me say this. It's true. Asset recovery is a new phenomenon in the Liberian political scene. I brought about it here. It was here. Restitution was never the core issue when it comes to prosecution. I decided that restitution be the core issue, be at the forefront of the war on corruption. So many people are not used to this kind of thing. We used to see people being handcuffed and led to court, and they make a lot of noise. At the end of the day, no dime is recovered. I have created a new phenomenon that is being followed, and gradually people are paying to the account. So yes, some people would try to start for the process. Yes, it is a question of not having clear understanding of the kind of changes that are being brought about in the prosecution office. So yes, we cannot deny some of these things, but they have not been able to significantly tend the course that we have selected to follow. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So most time, and I want to say the media are saying that people are afraid of change. Not so much because they don't like change, but they don't know what is in change for them. So if you were to ask for a change of administration, people will be afraid because they don't know what is coming. Yes, they support the change, but they don't know where they will fall. So, for example, we want to retrieve $4.6 billion. You expect everybody to land and start singing. Some of those who will be fighting are people who are supporting some of those who looked at the system. So all we need to do is to stay the course.
Recently the court found that Brownie Samukai, along with his deputy Joseph Johnson, and probably the Controller General, of the Ministry of Defense under his administration, they found him guilty of stealing money belonging to the pension fund of the Armed Forces of Liberia. I don't believe I've heard any sentencing yet, even though there's a recovery effort, restitution effort.
Yeah, it goes like this. When the Friday is delivered, they give 15-day grace period for them to do what they call the pre-sentencing conference. At the pre-sentencing conference, the prosecution, who happens to be the Solicitor General, speaking for and on behalf of the Republic, will now lay out the theory of the case and why a whole defense will be the conviction. You'll be defending the conviction and now asking the sentencing board, for example, he will be said this crime calls for example, 5 years imprisonment. But because of the gravity and nature of the crime and the national security risks posed to the state, I'm asking for 25 years. So it is that at that level it is done. So that's where we are now. 15 days, you should just count 15 days from the date of conviction. We will appear for the pre-sentencing conference. It is there that the Solicitor General will make a case, a final case, and the judge will now sentence them. So after that, then they will announce a formal appeal if they wish to the Supreme Court of Liberia, sitting in the October term. But when the matter goes to the Supreme Court, when I appear as Chief Prosecutor of the Republic, I'll be defending the decision of the judge in the court of law. So there it goes.
All right. So you just gave a scenario. For instance, you said 25 years. Is that what your intention? What your intention is to see if the convicted minister and his deputy, are you looking for 25 years or more or less? Or just an example? I know it's left with the judge.
Yeah, no, we have to make a plea. Prosecution, the core issue of our prosecution strategy is purely restitution. We're talking about 1.3 million United States dollars. All crimes are committed against the state, the republic. If there is some significant discussion here at making some level of restitution, we'll create a forum for further dialogue prior to or after the pre-sentencing period. But once the judge finally deliver that sentence, and we will not, there will be no more turning back. Maybe we're going straight to Supreme Court. So there's still room for discussion. There's still room if they so desired, because what we want at the forefront of our whole exercise is restitution. You see, so that the soldier get their money back. We're not interested in a long lifetime, prison sentences of the three defendants. But if they give out the cost, we'll move for that. We'll actually move for that.
This would be one of the high, high official, well-placed individuals who are faced the court. Maybe the second would be like the National Bank corporate officer that are currently going, criminal trial for their own participation in the theft of public asset. But what are we looking at in that case? Because for Minister Samuka and his fellow, former defense officials, we now know that they actually, bend the law and actually commit a theft. Based on the court, they've been convicted there, even though they're free to take appeal and go to the Supreme Court. But what about the Charles Sirleaf case? Are you in luxury to talk about that?
Yes. The case is scheduled for May 12th. May 12th. So what we're doing is we're waiting for the time of court, because this time of court is already over. So waiting for the May 10th. The court open, all the criminal courts, open the second Monday in May 2020. So I think 2 days later will be the trial of that. So when we come to that role, we'll then be able to lay out what exactly we want. But in the process, we're looking at a number of things. We commended our predecessor for all what they did. You said, when a situation of that nature happen, it's like billows upon the sea. It rises up and pushes forward towards the shore. But when it drops and hit the wall, it goes back into the sea and become part of the sea. The same billow become part of the sea. So it's like those kind of issues that we're talking about. When they come on newly, they are high every part of the world. They are high every part of Liberia. But in the quietude of time, the prosecution will now sit and do a critical review of the matter to be able to proceed. So what we're doing is that the case is scheduled for May 12th. From now to May 12th, there will be a number of actions taken, because we want to prove to the world that indeed there is compelling evidence to proceed and prosecute successfully. So part of the thing is that we commended our predecessor for all the great work they did, and we want to continue from there.
Now, what are some of the other cases we're looking at? Because I remember Aret had promised to probably recover in excess of $4 billion. That seems to be a very steep hill to climb, if one can say. And we are, like dropping water in the bucket here and then hoping that we'll fill out so early. What are some of the other high profile cases that we're looking at for corruption?
There are so many of them. The government of Liberia hired international institutions. Grant funds from Great Britain and just the advisory. We're trying to hire the Global League Council from New York. Significantly, they were after left, then COVID-19 came, so everything has been destabilized and everything is on hold. But the fight to recover the money still continues. So we set our eyes upon that. We have not removed our eyes. I know that the likes of Amra Kone, who were making noise around the world, they clearly understand now that we're not joking. We should not be taken for granted. Wherever they are, you should remember it's only a matter of time before we begin to strike. So in the face of COVID-19, we want everybody to stay safe. The battle will start again, but now it's clearly suspended because of some of the event. But that doesn't change our resolve. Our resolve remains the same. So in the midst of COVID-19, you can't be doing recovery. When everybody is hiding, right now I'm hiding under my bed. I'm talking to you from my bed.
All right. Hope you're staying safe because they say that the COVID-19 is highly communicable, especially if you do social media. That's when you're susceptible to catching it. But that's just a high place joke. But I wanted to talk about Grant Thornton. I understand they had gone to Nokal. And because of the rift between the Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia, the only individual who can disagree with the President of the Republic of Liberia, because of the rift, and he had issued a lot of communication out there that sort of put people on the defense. I understand Grant Thornton had gone to the to Nokal. And Safua Gray, Attorney Safua Gray is, I think, one of the personnel out there. So they were asked out of an office where they were initially invited, and people are creating, stall. In other words, they're stalling the effort. People ask for badly needed evidence. Whether it has to do with audit reports and so on and so forth. People are holding back on the basis of national security implication. Are you aware of anything of that sort?
That thing struck. I have not had an opportunity to look at what issues that you are seeing, but after COVID-19, then we'll all redo the rebranding of the whole process. So for me, I have no idea, but I think we should first fight to make sure that we survive, because the Israelis have said that anyone who goes to war, you don't win a war the same day. So if you go to war and the war gets tough, you retreat and prepare better and come back. So Renard, I think the focus should be our survival. As to what you said, I absolutely have no idea, and I wish in the future we'll be able to address that if it ever happens.
Okay. All right. So one of the reasons why probably I got you here today is this widely spread rumor that you'll be replacing Councillor Wamudiki. There's also another rumor that it was through your influence, Councillor Wamudiki got the job in the first place. And knowing what I know, I know it's not my role, but it's always good for you to clear the air, because people have some of this rumor. Our country is so small. people take one distortion, and by the time it gets to the end of the border, it's a different story completely. So you tell us, were you involved in the appointment of Wamudiki to go to the National Elections Commission?
You know, the Constitution under Article 54 vests the power to make appointment in the executive exclusively into the hands of the sovereign authority, happens to be the president. I don't know how a Liberian citizen can be the one be held accountable for that, but be that as it may, the first side of the other side of the rumor is that the first time that I was supposed to replace him, they are the same one they want carrying. So I don't really know which one I'm supposed to believe. You know, but what all does is it clearly amazes me because it again news to me. I'm just hearing it for the first time that I recommended or I carry. So then, what kind of man? I'm Solicitor General. That position is a deputy minister position. So then, I'm not even a full minister yet. So how could I play such a role? I think we need to ask those guys who are spreading such a rumor to sit down a bit and reflect and see, to be able to put their information together. Because at one point I was supposed to replace him, at another point I didn't want to introduce him. So I don't know. So the one man, I get a power to introduce him, I get a power to replace him again. See that? So this is quite absolutely strange to me.
Well, another thing regarding Councillor Wamudiki, of course, he would you still refer to him as a colleague?
He's a professional colleague. He's a Liberian citizen. He's a professional colleague, a senior, because he was in law school long before me. And he became Councillor at Law 2 years before I became Councillor at Law. So I see him as a senior colleague, as a friend, but that's all.
Well, Mr. Solicitor General, the fact that a lot of unearthed on his confirmation hearing, matter of fact, it is alleged that he falsified Liberian citizenship, and based on that is now criminally liable for removal from the Republic of Liberia. You being the Solicitor General, that would be one of your direct responsibilities. What do you have to say about that, sir?
You know, the two things, normally I don't comment on this kind of thing because eventually it will come before me. I was a bit disturbed because confirmation hearing, so test the person, professional and the competence and understanding the character and nature of the job. That's how confirmation hearing to me should be, and that has been a long held tradition of the Honorable Liberian Senate. The new Senate is very progressive, and I like that. And let me admit, the new Senate have done a lot of great jobs, but I thought this was more like a revocation or cancellation proceeding than a Senate confirmation. I like that. Let me admit to you that I like the new Senate. It's really progressive. But the only thing was that my only concern is that they were performing a revocation process in a Senate confirmation hearing, which is good though, which is not bad. And I think next time anybody going before the Liberian Senate, you really have to get your act together. That said, I have no comment beyond this. But I thought it took a form of revocation or cancellation proceeding, which is judicial in nature, and it's not legislative. The legislative hearing or Senate legislative hearing is more on the competence, professional competence qualification, technological know-how or professional technical know-how of the job. This has always been, because of the 2 times or 3 times I appeared for Senate confirmation hearing, I was asked what I understand the job, what about the limitations and parameters of my authority. Those were things that I was asked, and I was never asked what I was like Liberian citizen or what I was. So it's purely a new number to me, and I really don't know.
Well, one would argue otherwise, that the function of the Senate is to act as an human resource corridor, where they test not only the knowledge of the individual, but also the character competence of the individual. If someone has a character flaw, someone who is clearly clearly, I don't think one will argue that the Senate was not out of place, because when you talk about competency, it also involves character competency. But where would you start drawing the new Senate? I heard you use the term the new Senate. When has the Senate become new? Since the arrival of Darius Dillon?
Listen, the Senate is new has elevated itself to a new level of being more progressive in dealing with issues in a more radical tone than we saw long before under the administration of President Salim. President Salim's Senate, under the 53rd legislature, was just so say one, so say all, but the other Senate is a bit progressive, decisive, institutional, and more or less objective and aspirational in pursuing some of the issues that they are now discussing. We haven't seen that before, so they are developing a more objective posture when it comes to discussing critical national issue, and become more aspirational when it comes to discussing, personality. So be that as it may, I love it. These are the kind of aggressive and progressive debates that I'm used to. As said from the onset of this interview, that we are few of our kinds, when it comes to the rating that have been listed by the International Criminal Court. So when we see these kind of, frank and brutal exchanges of ideas on the floor, we enjoy that, because this is what we used to.
Well, one can say on the line with me is Councillor Sema Sereno Cephas. In case you're just joining me, this is the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, and he's trying to dispel rumors and misinformation, disinformation, of course, that have been spread out by certain individuals out in the media. And Mr. Councillor Serena Cephas is here today trying to clear the air. I'm so sorry that I could not bring him via video, so he can interact more generally with the general public, because he has been here before. He has been in the same position, on the same platform. But one could say, prior to the arrival, Council, of Darius Dillon, the Senate had adopted the same posture that it had under Madam Sirleaf, where the same gentleman went there, this Wamudiki guy went there on 2 occasions, one at least, and he was clear and confirmed. So it was like a free corridor, so to speak. And but now there are roadblocks established everywhere, where you don't just go there to just go have a free pass since quote unquote the arrival of Darius Dillon. You said in your own words that you love the new posture of the Senate. At what point you would think that it's going to be difficult to just have a clean slate of Liberians? Say, for instance, people have been making noise that Councillor Sema Sereno Cephas is another. Our Liberian society is this, you got character, this, you get that. And somebody like yourself were to be given the job of National Elections Commission chair. Would you consider a stall if somebody like yourself was, were to be rejected at the Senate?
You say if I were to be rejected by the Senate?
Yeah, if you were given a position to serve as the National Election Commission's chair, let's say the rumor is true, but it just has not reached you yet.
I don't deal with. I don't deal with hypothetical questions. I'm so brilliant, and I like myself for that. I don't, as a lawyer, I deal with facts backed by evidence. There's something they call the best evidence principle. Mm-hmm. I always subscribe to that. There's nothing before me. I can't discuss hypothetical and presumptive issues. For example, assuming without a meeting you were dead, assuming without no.
Okay.
I don't assume for now, So first and foremost, we don't do this is by law, and we are few of our kinds. I've said that to you. Duly listed and respected around the world. When we speak, many of my colleagues may be listening to your platform around the world. They will wonder, they say, but say, man, when you're rating, how will you submit to such a question? How you address a question that is hypothetical, first and foremost? And I use the word few of our kinds. You don't find out many, that we are not so many, around. You can go on the website, it's there.
Well, Counsel, because you're talking about the Senate adopting a progressive attitude, the culture of the new Senate now is progressive. It means it becomes more intellectual in their own approach, as opposed to just that free for all corridor that existed up to the advent of a gentleman named A.B. Darius Dillon. But let's move forward. Counsel, the Republic of Liberia continues to struggle financially. Of course, I'm not going to ask you any financial question until I will get somebody like...
Yeah, because I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist or a financial expert.
Exactly.
I have no such training.
Exactly.
I never put myself in a position where I've been questioned and cornered. If it is agronomic terms and legal, journalistic, okay, we can go there.
We continue to see that the journalistic culture of Liberia is not developed to the extent, and I'm pretty sure if somebody like yourself were to grant lecture at the university, you probably, if you have the influence, you try to up the standard of journalism in Liberia a little bit. Reporting of latest, it's becoming more or less like hearsay. People, no investigative reporting, no the culture that we had prior when you guys were leading that sector is diminishing gradually. I mean, we do have one or two papers that have tried to exalt themselves. For instance, Rodney Sear of Front Page Africa and others. But what would you like to see done, Mr. Solicitor General? What would you like to see?
Let me speak, for example, that since we decriminalize free speech, it's like having a border rolling down a steep. People just malign, ravage, and defend the character of public official. For example, you talk about Rodney Sear. Look at Front Page Africa. If you went to the Ministry of Justice and asked anybody, any employee in the Ministry of Justice, they will tell you, I come to the Ministry of Justice by 8 o'clock. I go in my office after my prayer service, review my court records here, and I pick up my file, get by in my car, and go to the court either to help the prosecution or go to the Supreme Court. But Ronnie did a PRO, piece in which he said the people are confused; they don't know who to respect, because I've indicated I will soon be Justice Minister. That was absolute rubbish for me. For me, integrity, for example, Liberian media institution don't have the respect and the authority. And the reason being is that, Remy, you were in Liberia, you know how we carry the system. Today, if you went to any newspaper, because things are so high and say, malign the character of this person, they do it. And the reason is public officials are not opening up to the media. And number two, the country is so backward that people form an opinion on the basis of tribe, region, and political alignments. For example, if you were to, I know you, once in the AFL, the well-trained army personnel, if you came back to Liberia for some reason and became public official, they will align you with other political party and they will write a story about you that will be so bad. You say, how can somebody say that I can tell people that nobody must respect anybody? I mean, I was shocked. But I have said you can go in the ministry and ask anybody. They will tell you that he comes into the ministry in the money. he reads the files, he prepares his brief, he goes to the Supreme Court or go to any of the court and sit with the team, leaving them ought to be able to prosecute cases. That's what a great Solicitor General should do. But as I indicated to you, first, the media is not supported. Two, public officials are not open to the media to provide any information needed. Three, because there is a lack of information dissemination, they do what they call sensationalism. They write, because in Liberia right now, if you write a true story, say you write that the Solicitor General is very punctual and diligent in doing his work, nobody's going to buy a newspaper. But if you say we saw the Solicitor General up one coconut tree was stealing somebody's coconut, my brother, the people buy the newspaper, and that's why the people like. So our media institution now are subscribing to what we call free lies, you know. And then what happens? For example, Ronnie is having a feed day. He writes whatever he feels about anybody. But for me, it's nothing to me. I can recall I was in private practice, which is the law. I was in private practice. I was representing somebody accused of rape. He wanted to make it an issue because some little writer girl was doing the very job I'm doing. So he wanted to make it to appear that I was representing. But representing somebody don't mean that you join the person in committing the crime. They made it to appear that I was representing somebody the state had condemned. But that's the law. You know, that's the law. Even if in prison, the person will have somebody representing them. You know, I represented a man, Kasabli, in a rape case. They make it to appear that I was one of those who committed a crime. You know, we don't want to keep this thing in our hearts. We just leave them. Because when President Weah came to power, the first thing he did, he decriminalized free speech. So crimes and sedition, criminal malevolence, and all the other things that were used, statement against the president, section 12.26, all these things went away. They were removed. So people now, if you have a problem, you can only sue, you know, in a civil action. Like it's not the way we used to do it. You arrest the person and take them over. If those laws are not being decriminalized, most of your friends most of those guys would have been arrested, because it's bad. I mean, it's really, really bad. You understand that nothing they do. They will say we tried to contact him, but there was no effort. We made effort. We called him 2 times. The phone rang. He didn't pick up the phone. Oh, but what was so urgent about this publication? You called me 2 times. You claim, but I didn't pick up the phone. And then you said that constitutes my side. Now you can't compete with them because that's their job. That's what they do. So if they write rubbish against you, you're not going to go in the paper to try to clarify, because if you do everyday, it's everyday thing that they do. So you were talking about professionalism. They have the professionalism on their side, but they suppress it and go for the unprofessionalism with the intent to malign the good character of people. For example, what can a people in Liberia do to somebody who is vice president of the European Bar? Because Liberia is nation in America. Everybody looking at what the truth here. The truths are out there. People looking at it. So you read rubbish against me. The people out there will send people quietly on the ground to do an investigation to find out. On April 7, let me tell you a story. On April 7, 2014, I had an opportunity to talk to a just.
Your phone is breaking. Your phone is breaking.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Counsel.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I said on April 7, 2014, I appeared before one of the justices in chamber. I indicated to the justice in chamber that I applied for admission to the list of counsel of the International Criminal Court. He was shocked. He said, "How did you manage?" I said, "No, I've met with all the requirements, but in the coming days they will do a review of my application to see what I'm qualified to be admitted." He said, "All right." On April 14, the guy suspended me and criminalized me, but he wrote an opinion which was very stupid. You understand? He said, the man is hereby for conduct that constitute that is tantamount to contempt. Okay, if it is tantamount to contempt of court, I needed my day in court. I needed to be heard. You understand? And then when they sounded the opinion, they sounded opinion, said an opinion of the Supreme Court. Such an opinion of that nature, you say my conduct is tantamount to contempt. My brother, so I was suspended for 3 months. Not for any criminal activity, not for anything. But when I was suspended, the news was published all around the world. What did the court do? The court came to Liberia, quietly investigated, and found out that my suspension was political. The court admitted me on March 31, 2016, full member, and I became a founding member of the RCCPA. You understand? That person, many years down the line, that person fall into my trap. Of course, I said the way that I would treat you, it would send a strong message to your partners in crime that they will understand that next time you don't treat people like this. That person is no more at that Supreme Court. I'm saying this to say people get so envious and wicked against their fellow men simply for ascending, for making progress. This is the kind of Liberia we live in. You understand? How can you write an opinion and say the man conduct is tantamount to contempt? And the man he does not contempt court. You didn't call him for contempt hearing and gave him his data in court before suspending him.
So is this a suspension some are clinging on that you were disbarred for temporarily, and it was based on a criminal offense? Because I've heard you need to read, you need to go to the website. I will ask my special assistant to forward that to you. You read it. You read a Supreme Court opinion of that nature, you read it, you laugh. You know, I was never, ever suspended for criminal activities. Even if a criminal activity, I should have been investigated by the police and charged and sent. But that person who wrote that opinion knows exactly where I stand and what I did and what I would do as time goes on. You understand? Because, my brother, we can't go a country like this where people fight to destroy other people. Check the record. Check my record. I was never suspended for criminal activity. I will ask Councillor Good to forward to you to your mail at the close of this interview. Text me your email. We'll send an opinion to you. If you read the opinion, it's a disgrace to our country that at that level, a Supreme Court would write an opinion and say the man conduct is tantamount to contempt. Therefore, he's suspended for 3 months. What is that? What is that? 50 years down the line, unborn generation will come and they will want to read and they will say, tantamount to contempt, was there a contempt proceeding? You understand? Yeah.
That's the limitation of the quality of people that we have. And we have to take action to correct the system.
Well, Liberia is a nation of rumor, of course. A lot of this rumor that you see, spread around everywhere around here, our country. Some of them you have to almost do your own due diligence. But we have people who, quote unquote, claim to have wider audience, bigger listening audience. They don't do their due diligence, and when you corner those kinds of people, they say, "Oh, I'm not a journalist." Well, anybody who presents information through a journal, by virtue of that, either you're professional or unprofessional, but you're a journalist. And most people don't understand the meaning of the word journalist. That you present, you create the opportunity, the platform through which you disseminate information. But it's your responsibility to verify those information and try to present it in a balanced form. And once you fail to do that, you are unprofessional journalist. And many of them around in the places, some of them brag about being the largest platform and so on. I mean, what's the need of, you have a scandal sheet, you just besmirch people's character. That's why I say our country is such a place where if we were suing people for defamation, a lot of people will be behind bars. A lot. And
but
go ahead.
Let me say that before you proceed. Every time I think about my suspension, I feel bitter about it. it was one moment in my life that I was willing to go to war. This is one moment in my life in which I was really prepared to go to war. And I said, all those who were responsible for it, I'm going to get even with it. 50 years. But many years down the line, I just decided to forget it. I said, well, let back on be back on. But many a time and too often in our country, people will say they leave their own with God. In my case, I said I was not going to leave it with God. Because God gave me, endowed me with the power and the wisdom to defend myself. This was absolutely preposterous. Can you imagine that a court of law, the highest court in the republic, will rule in a matter and say his conduct is tantamount to contempt, and therefore the person is suspended for 3 months, his life, liberty, rights have been deprived of him in violation of Article 28 of the 1986 Constitution without due process? So, and this is a court that's supposed to be adjudicating in our country.
So, Mr.
Shame and disgrace.
Mr. Solicitor General, are you trying to tell me that this was, this was what we call vengeance against the former justice?
Many a time I was in my friends asked me, even after writing the registrar, Mark Vomba, he asked me, he said, what were you suspended for? I said, I don't know. I said, read the opinion. He said, well, we read the opinion, we can find no reasons for your suspension. Is that how you're ruling your country? Now when you write and you release it, you can't go around explaining to people. Other people read and they try to understand. So I was shocked. The man said, well, is that how you're ruling your country? I said, well, that's what they said. He just shook his head. He said, yes, there will always be problem in Liberia because ruling like this, in the Western world, the people will get even with people who sign this kind of ruling. You understand? You must show the cause, must show the reasons for the suspension. There was no reason, I don't know. I'm saying this to say because I decided to forget it. I pray over it and I let back on be back on. But one thing I did was that, look, I will forget it. But when I have the opportunity to fight back, I will simply remind you, I will not fight back, I will remind you that what you did long ago was wrong. Down the line, the very person who happens to be Justice Kabina Jane had a land dispute with Dr. Robert Botu, and he hired me to be his lawyer. Can you imagine? And I represented him without saying, you the one suspended me. You understand? He had a land dispute with Robert Botu, and I represented him. That's what tells you when you are great, you don't keep petty things in your heart. You understand? So, my brother, people write here and there. I urge you, check the website, go to the Supreme Court website, go see the case. It was nothing. I didn't do anything wrong.
What's the title of the case? What's the title of the case? Because for me,
just send me your email. I'll send Councilor Gu. My special assistant will send it to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll tell him to
all right. Because I would like to counter some of. Go ahead. These are some of the issues I read and be informed. So when people write, sometimes I take the opposite lane and I counter them because I'm a student of research. Go ahead.
Yeah, that case is not any better example for you to represent the Supreme Court of Liberia. I think it should be treated as a complete joke because it doesn't even meet the litmus test to be considered even a ruling of a magistrate court. I tell you this. So what I would do is I would tell Councilor Gu to file because somebody raised the same issue and Councilor Gu were able to file the ruling to them. The person read the ruling and the person apologized to Councilor Gu for making the kind of comment they were making against me and realized that, that's how I led to be a hero. I'm always a winner, So it's important that you see that. Somebody will say that, but they will only talk it. They will talk it to their throat, but it will not be open. They will not come into the public because if you come into the public, then we'll confront you with a fact. We'll not just start there confronting you with a fact, but we'll go after you because we have a right. We have a remedy at law ourselves. We ourselves get remedy at law. We are not stopped from protecting our own civil and professional rights. So I say this to say that was the kind of damage. The whole objective. And let me tell you, this is a secret. The whole objective was to make sure that I don't get admitted to the ICC. That whole. But so just imagine because it happened on the 14th of April, I did not get my emission until March 31, 2016, 2 years later. You understand? Yeah. But people can say your delay is not your denial. I still got my emission, yeah. So for me, that is part of it. It should be thrown into the relics of history.
Okay.
It's something of the past. I just have to tell you how terrible and backward our system is, and how narrow-minded Liberians are. For example, if they're calling for lawyers around the world, a few days ago they said to all the lawyers of the ICC, no Liberian lawyer was ever sent a circular. The only Liberian lawyer that was sent a circular for this year, June 8 to 11, which has now been postponed indefinitely, was me. The second Liberian that is mission. His records have been reviewed for the last 2 years. His records have been reviewed for the last 2 years. You understand?
Can you repeat? There was a break. Counsel, there was a break in communication. Who was that second Liberian?
I am saying they called the second Liberian that will be if he is successful.
Yeah.
Arthur Johnson.
Arthur Johnson. Okay.
He's still a candidate for admission. But I've been there for the last 5 years, so I'm a senior counsel.
Well, our country is so controversial to the point everything is politicized these days. Gone are the days when people used to pursue the path of decency. These days, people take anything that once you fall on one side of the aisle or the other, and something comes out about you that is negative, people don't even investigate, they don't even do their own diligence, they run with it, and then without even seeking the truth. Rumor is one thing, but anybody, and we have people who generate their news from some of these social media accounts that people establish, say they have live talk show without verifying anything, and some have a boast very loud in the way they present the issue. It's so compelling and convincing, but a man who is partially literate will always demonstrate that, because literacy is the ability to seek the truth to the limit. Anybody who takes a half truth and run with it, they're illiterate. They're functional literate, as we say in the normal world. But I was going to see at a different issue regarding the president-owned circle. I'm not a pro-regime person. Definitely, I have my own biases against this government. But and I hate to ask you a question regarding economics. So I like the legal part. You being the Solicitor General, how would you say generally is law and order in the Republic of Liberia? How would you climax it? How would you describe it? I will use the word, it's fairly good. I will not use extremely good. It's fairly good to the sense that there have been a lot of provocations against this government. And all they want is that for the government to do an iron-fisted approach, and then they use it as a basis to cause insurrection and instability. So most of there have been a lot of provocations. For example, COVID-19 issued the government, the police try to enforce this social distancing process that is being put in place. And there is a lot of backlash, and people are fighting back here and there. I was even told today that one pastor closed the church and called all people, they beat the police until the police was almost half unconscious. That's absolutely preposterous. So if the police has used force that could lead to death, they will only look at the issues of the police, brutality, alleged brutality, and leave out the issue. So I say fairly, because most of the things are based on provocation in for a country which is still fragile, and political parties try to use every little thing to claim some level of relevance. You need a leadership that we have, which is very much reserved, very much responsible and consistent in dealing with each state by exercising
caution and restraint. I think that's the kind of leadership that we need, and that's what we have. So I'm glad that there's a leadership in place, even to the extent the provocation is so much that I think Liberia of democracy, as it is in terms of free speech, it surpasses America. People go on the radio and just abuse the president for in the money and taking it, and nobody arrests them. For in the money, they go on the radio and raise insult against the president, including his family, everything, and they walk the streets of Monrovia as heroes. So I think Liberia have the furious, I'll call it the furious, democracy. We are the most, consistent. So that's the kind of democracy. So our democracy, free speech is now becoming absolute lawlessness. There's complete lawless behavior. Citizen, for example, if a taxi driver for some reason and a motorcycle have an accident, the guys come and just find the taxi driver, the taxi, or try to set the driver ablaze, or they go and set ablaze a police station. So many things,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Counsel. That's why I asked you the question. I'm glad that you're getting down to the nitty-gritty. In this case, law and order, of course, is something that you can bend. You being a Solicitor General, your office should see more and more cases coming forth. I know probably some of those are not they don't fall within your jurisdiction. But eventually, when it comes to, foreseeing law and order in the Republic, I think you have a role in that. But one thing I understand was that our detention sites were jam-packed with cases that have not been adjudicated. Some of them have not even appeared for arraignment. And people are just being bundled, and if they don't have the opportunity, they literally die in prison without even having the very first opportunity to see a judge for arraignment. So what would you say about that? Because that is not something, that's something you inherited. It started way down the line, even before Madam Sirleaf, where people were just thrown in jail, throw the key away, they're there, nobody, because they don't have the opportunity, nobody cares about them unless high profile people. And those people are still there trying to have their first day in court just to see a judge to tell them what their crime is and what their next course of action, whether they're guilty or not guilty. Those kinds of people are in jail. What would you say as Solicitor General, sir, with those kinds of situations?
Most of the prisons around the country are being decongested now. Because of COVID-19, and most of there were these the pre-trial detention, program where magistrates, a lot of people go there and listen to some of the cases, and for petty offenses, infractions, people are set free. Yes, some of the things you said, some was in the actually became be credited to the past administration. The administration was absolutely useless and didn't understand because it was based on just the whole idea of the imperial presidency, but this presidency are taking a new twist, a new positive approach to the process. And as we speak, even because of COVID-19, there have been extreme cautions that have been observed and exercised at every level. People not rushing people to jail on mere allegations here and there, except it's a capital offense in the form of rape, kidnapping, or murder, or whatever. But be that as it made, significant progress has been made to decongest most of the prisons around the country.
Well, Counsel, I know there will, our country is a rumor-based country. There will always be rumor. There will be speculation. Matter of fact, the debate out there now is that if you appear in front of the Senate, you should be categorically rejected in case you're appointed. Or this, all of this confusion, this misinformation, disinformation is something that will continue. And people who are looking at us, they know definitely that ours is still a conflicting country. In the midst of all of this, where people still have their freedom to speak unfettered. One would say that absolute freedom can corrupt absolutely. Now, do you think we should strengthen our court system to begin to bring libelous suits against people who are defaming the character of other people?
I think we should do that. First, because your statement is loaded. I have no intention of appearing before the Senate on any issue unless when it becomes necessary. And I have never, in any form, manner, or shape, engaged in any conduct that will not give the Senate that aspirational, objective policy decision making to critically analyze decisions and nominees or other persons or other issues coming before it. Subscribe to the new number, I will call it a new number, progressive and culture and aspirational, gymnastic, whatever the situation is. But as you said, there's a need for the rebranding of our new media landscape. Rebranding the media landscape to give it a new progressive focus, so that it focuses itself more on critical issues that will be informative, educational, and entertaining, rather than divisive, reporting, divisive, criminalization, recrimination, name calling, backbiting. The media has descended into the cesspool of insanity and social backwardness. I've said when we were in school, we used to say when the weight of the people is being jeopardized by recalcitrant forces, it becomes the progressive among the people that must determine the definite course of action. I think the time has come for it's a rallying call. It's a rallying call to all Liberians to rise up against the kind of divisive, reporting, the name calling, the vicious and hypocritical reporting that we see around here. It's really wrong. Let firmness and credibility be our new courage, and we should be able to determine what exactly we want to put out there. Today, the media accepted that most Liberian, in fact, they face what we call, doubting, climate. Everything that is reported in the media, people look as though they're lying, that they are usual habit. That's how they could. Yeah, listen, that's how they got started. Part of the problem we have in Liberia is, and I've said it many times when I spoke at the opening of court, that most time the people say the court should be respected. The courts should be respected. The judges should be respected. That's great. We should respect our courts. We should respect our judges. But if you, the court, for example, you are adjudicating a case and you give significant weight of your attention to one party and make it to appear for the other people to see you that you're not neutral, and then you render a judgment against them, they will eventually react. Now, I've said our court should not just be independent, but it should be seen as being independent. They should not be independent, but they should be seen as being independent.
Right.
There's a difference of being independent and being independent, because when you say you are independent, it's relative. People will say you are not. But if you are seen as being independent, then everybody will agree that you are. You understand? So most of the time, most of the people that are winning cases, they celebrate. But the day they go rule against them, they have a lot to say.
Well, recently we've been seeing maybe it's one-sided, but we've been seeing attacks on journalists. As bogus as some of these individuals, once a person is engaged in the process of disseminating information, that individual in our Liberian culture is considered journalist. We've seen increased attack on some of these people. You being Solicitor General, does your jurisdiction extend to that level, sir? The protection of journalism, of journalists.
Yeah, there's one case in point. There's one case in point from Grand Bassel. I instructed the county attorney that if they find it, or they should disrobe the person who did it, cuff him, and send him to court for attacking. I've always said, we should exercise restraint we should, no matter how emotionally charged the situation may be, we should maintain our balance. That's the kind of person I am. I have been subjected to so many divisive reporting, but I'm not moved by that. You understand? I'm not moved by that. I can recall when I took the decision that led to the dropping of charges and nothing. I can remember when I sent the document to LACC. One case in when was Mr. Musa Ability. For days, he was moving from radio station to Malama character. He did that for me. He did that for a.
Council, you're breaking back. You're going back to that location. You should move a little bit.
A month later, he will try and come.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly.
I gave you a case in point. I said there was a time a case involving Ellen Cochran order. When I sent the file to the LACC and asked for re-investigation, my friend Musa Ability went from radio station to radio station, his own radio station. He took 3 weeks to malign my character. I'm useless, I'm embarrassment, I'm this, I'm that. But 1 month later, when he was traveling out of the country, he called me and we spoke as if nothing had happened. The reasons why I didn't give credence to some of the things is that nobody takes Liberians serious. You know, I mean, first and foremost, they are not competitive. Internationally, they are not competitive. They are only stronger in Liberia and no more. And nobody listens to them outside. You know, people see them to be jokers, you know. So if a Liberian, for example, a newspaper decide to write about rubbish about me, it's nothing to me. First and foremost, it will always prevail. You know, so I'm saying this to say part of the thing to do is to do nothing. Part of the way to kill a divisive press is to do nothing, one way or the other. The second way is to what? Sue them and bring them to book. But I think the first approach is working. By isolating them, making public, everybody to see them to be untruthful, they are running out of business. Many of them are running out of business.
Well, we do have a listening audience, of course. Some people want to join the conversation, but I will lift one or two comments from Facebook here. My friend and brother Alexander Ayala say, why did he say he will arrest Robert Neal for audit at IAA for criminal malevolence? Let me hang on. If he, as a lawyer, knows that he has been decriminalized. In other words, if free speech has been decriminalized, why would you want to threaten to lock up Robert Neal? Did you at any point?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What happened? Robert Neal goes on the social media and claimed that the government of Liberia is losing $40,000 monthly from the alleged theft activities of the IAA boss by the name of Emmanuel Patan Yeswa. He goes around and writes all these things. He came over to my office and made the allegation. I said, reduce it to writing. He writes, instead of writing the complaint, at one point I went to visit my private office on a Saturday. He called me. I said, no, I'm not at the government office, I'm at my private office. He came, we had a conversation. He actually wrote the complaint. Instead of writing the complaint, he writes how he met me in my private office, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have a problem with that. But the complaint he wrote against Patan Yeswa and other people were forwarded to the police to do a formal criminal investigation to establish the veracity of the allegation made. The police then summoned Patan Yeswa and all the other people he needs to appear. Now, the police have been doing an investigation. He who brought the complaint, he refused to appear. How do you expect the police to conclude their investigation?
All right.
When he said Liberian government is losing 40,000 monthly. Now, instead of doing that, he changes all his number and he said he can only respond to the police on WhatsApp. Now, I said that constitutes a disorderly conduct. It's not being decriminalized. Let me tell you this, disorderly conduct. especially so when you go public on the radio and accuse a public official and you said the public official is stealing, then they call you to bring the evidence, then you can come. So we can't allow you to have a feed in and go from radio station to radio station and spread such misinformation. Little did I know that the Senate investigated and the Senate even wrote a report in which they want to recommend to the president to dismiss him that he's a liar. So I said, we can't have you spreading such misinformation when you have an opportunity to provide the evidence that will lead us to make the arrest. If you don't do that, you decide to take to the social media, then it means you lying. And that constitutes disorderly conduct. We will have to arrest him. Of course. Yes. I stand by that.
All right. Well, our social media audience, of course, some of them have expressed their willpower to come on board, but we have just a limited time left to conclude this broadcast. So I would just urge people that if you have any question, I can lift it up from the screen and ask the counselor. But so far I'm only seeing people are still watching because people are concerned, and I understand that these are acrimonious moments, and has always been where the ruling party becomes the Judas of the day, and everybody's trying to take a swing at Judas for being who he is. But are there any good things that we can look forward to? Legally, I don't want to obligate you to talk about other sector, but legally, and also let us dwell a little bit on Janine Cooper, who was appointed in a sector that I'm pretty sure you have more knowledge about, the agriculture sector. What are some of the things we can begin to celebrate so early about within that sector as well?
I didn't know her before. Absolutely, I didn't know her before. I have not met her before. That sector should be the engine of our country.
Exactly.
About growth and development, there should be.
Council, your phone is breaking. Your phone is breaking again.
She has security and focus. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You need to get up. You need to get up. You need to get on the clear. You're still under the bed.
Okay, let me get up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir, clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, no breakage.
Yeah, I said I have not met her and I have not seen her before. But I'm told that she has a professional ingenuity and the focus to make this sector to work. That sector should be the engine of our country in terms of growth and development. Significant resources have been pumped in that sector over the years with little or no result, absolutely. There was an attempt being used by certain individuals to use the sector to amass wealth at the expense of the state. And that sector has the potential to impose huge debt on the Liberian government. For example, 317 million was borrowed during the administration of President Salif. Today, they cannot account for a dime. There's no any significant impact, when it comes to the kind of amount of money that's being spent in the agro sector. So we are having that will mark a symbolic beginning of a solid institutionalization of finding the requisite individual to head that sector. So I'm pleased and I'm happy to hear that she has developed the same instinct that I developed when I was there to fight corruption. And I know with her collective decision of the team that she's going to work with, because she's going to provide direction and guidance. If they follow her path, I think we can make some inroads. But for now, I want to say one tree cannot make a forest. I urge her to continue to be steadfast in her resolve.
All right, Council, maybe I might take one or two calls, but there is this guy, Mr. Yala, continued his question. I think you may not have addressed the question that he directly asked. According, he said the SD said it will arrest Robert Neal for criminal malevolence. He didn't say for disorderly conduct. Okay, he said criminal malevolence, not for disorderly conduct.
But listen to this. Listen to this.
And, and he says the recording is there.
Yeah, but listen to this. For example, the Solicitor General of this republic is not infallible. Legally, it's not infallible. I could have said it. I could have said criminal malevolent, disorderly conduct, blah blah blah. Say that. But I'm telling you, the conduct of Robert New is absolutely atrocious. It's worrisome. It's callous and deliberate. And it cannot continue in a democratic society where facts are needed to be supported by evidence. And that's going to be by a sweeping allegation. Most of Robert New has just gone to the state to be seeking political asylum. What he wants is that he wants people to arrest him so that he uses that to justify his pursuit of political asylum in America. But I'm not going to give credence to that. I'm just waiting for the police report. When this police report is complete, because they sent 2 communications to his how he's now communicating by WhatsApp messages. If the report is finished and the report is sent to all, we'll now make a decision whether we'll continue to pursue the matter or leave it at that. I say, look, we believe this guy lied. I would determine that. I would say, look, it doesn't worth it, because first and foremost, he wants some level of relevance and recognition so he will justify a pursuit of political asylum in America. I'm not going to dignify that. So the guy who is insisting that I should say, criminal malevolence or disorderly conduct here and there. Okay, whatever the situation, his conduct is absolutely disorderly.
So, do you have any proof? You talking about conjecture? Do you have any proof that the reason he's doing this is for political, to serve his own political asylum application purpose?
We're not just on conjecture. We saw his application, his passport, and everything. We saw everything. We do have.
All right. I have another question here. Go ahead.
What he wants is that he wants Solicitor General to say, you arrest Robert New, then he justifies what he wants.
Okay.
I'm not going to dignify that. That's absolute nonsense for me.
All right. One of your former clients, in the name of Henry Costa, accused you of taking money from the defendant and leaving him, Costa, in the cold. I'm not sure whether that addresses the question to the limit, but did you at any point have any? That. Go ahead, sir.
I like that. Henry Costa needs to be educated, and this is the problem. I said we have few of our kinds that have been listed around the world. And I'm one that Henry Costa should be proud that I was once his lawyer. He should be proud that he had an opportunity to always engage me. Henry Costa doesn't understand what is criminal law. In criminal law, all crimes are committed against the state. He was arrested and handcuffed, and he was running towards the foreign ministry. He was in handcuffed, running and trying to rally public support for his cause. He was still taken to prison. What we did, we filed a criminal appearance bond for him. When we filed a criminal appearance bond, from the kind of robust challenges we made against the government of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the government on its own dropped the charges. In a criminal case, it's not the defendant that can drop the charges, it's the government that will drop the charges. So I don't know who is this person that Henry Costa continued to he received money. If the state that brought the charges against him drop the case, there's nothing that the defense counsel can do. And I keep telling Henry Costa, which case was he referring to? He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to talk. You need to ask him which case he referring to, because I know of another case, but it was not even a case. He wanted us to sue somebody, and we said we're not suing the person. The what he wanted for us to do was to sue Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the sovereign president of this republic, sitting as president is immune to any lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Is that what he's referring to? Is that what he's referring to?
Because he said you took money from, while defending him, while being his lawyer, his counsel, you took money.
The money from whom now?
You took money from him, from the other person. You took money from the other person.
The other person.
You know, that's what we talk. That's what we're talking about. Unfounded.
Listen. It's easy to say other person. Now, again, I'm a lawyer. Henry Costa knows very well that I'm a lawyer. I'm one of my kind in this part of the world, in Liberia. He knows it. Now, you can't just say you took money from other person, then being asked to respond who the other person.
Well, now that you've said he wanted you to sue the president of the Republic of Liberia. His own deduction was that in fact you received money from the president, thereby dropping his interest of having the president sued.
No, it's the ignorance of the law that makes him to arrive at such a cruel conclusion. I will call it cruel conclusion, because the president of this republic or Liberian Republic is immune to lawsuit. You cannot sue the president. And for somebody of my level and stature, of my kind,
okay,
I can't do that. People will laugh. The president is not cognizable. In fact, the president is immune to any lawsuit. So that would be absolutely.
Well, apparently I got it wrong. The issue about him running towards the foreign ministry, probably that could have been a crime in itself. While he was handcuffed, he was fleeing justice.
Yeah, he was fleeing handcuffed.
Yes. So in this case, is resisting arrest, fleeing justice. That's a common.
Listen, I was wondering at the pace at which he was taking to flight in handcuffs, and I was wondering what he really wanted to gather from such exercise, because it was an exercise in futility. And eventually he was caught and brought down, and the manner in which was manhandled, I protested on his behalf. It's part of my work. I've worked in the defense for many years before coming to prosecution. And that's gave me the leverage to understand how people feel on the other side. Look, I'm in sympathy with Mr. Costa, because each time he say, oh, he took money from the other side no need.
Now, here's what he said. Someone clarified. Say, Costa alleged that, again, someone was owing him money, and he sued that individual, and you, the SG, being his lawyer at the time, you understand, you took money from the other guy, or a settlement out of court from the defendant. So he sued someone who was a defendant. He's the plaintiff.
He said somebody was owing me. He said somebody was owing me.
Yeah, and you took money for them as in settlement.
Listen. What is the name of the someone?
I know.
And Honorable Gray, yeah, we should stop playing with people's character. What's the name of the someone? Costa is prepared to accuse me, but he's not prepared to call the someone that was owing him. And you want to believe
that? Well, my brother, you know, I'm in the court. I'm in the middle.
He's prepared to call my name, but he's not prepared to call the person that was owing him. And this is the kind of foolishness we must subscribe to.
I agree.
So you can see it's a makeup. Because had you called the person in, they will say, yeah, there was a case. Because I can say, for example, Honorable Gray, I can say, somebody was owing me, and I told you to sue them, and you took money here and there. Then you will say, but who the person that was owing you? There's no need. Costa is afraid to call the person that was owing him name, but he's only prepared to call my name because he's against me. You know, Costa should understand that we live in a world that is round. He may need me tomorrow. You know, we live in a world that is round. He continued to lie on me. Even he published the information on his webpage that alleges that I've been appointed to NEC. That is Costa who is leading this campaign against me. I don't have any problem with that. You go on webpage, you will see. He wrote a lot of things about me. But I continue to demonstrate deference. I continue to demonstrate deference to his behavior. We say I don't have pen power. One person will get pen power. But I can't waste my time because it's like a sledgehammer. You know? It's like going after the sledgehammer and leaving out the person that used the hammer. Costa is the sledgehammer. Somebody is pushing you to do all he's doing towards me. I want to see that person who's doing that. Costa benefactors know very well that none of them can stand me. Costa know that he's been used against me. I don't have anything against Costa. Some people say they wanted to be president, were vice president for 12 years. We didn't see anything. You were vice president for 12 years, your phone didn't touch the sky, you go in a valley that time your phone will reach the sky. You understand?
Yeah.
Vice president for 12 years, you didn't do any. You see? Why is he fighting a proxy war? He's fighting a proxy war. Even his good friend and benefactor, Honorable Benina Yuri, it was once a friend to me. You know, I continue to show deference because politics, all of us are Liberian. We believe one way or the other that our disagreement is based on the fact that each of us believes that we can do something better than the other. But it doesn't mean that we should eliminate each other. What Costa is doing to me is about eliminating my character.
All right. There's another question. Of course, Mr. Yeller had asked the SG regarding his role in the past with the NPFL. So if you want to take a look at my page, of course, go to that interview with him, and he addressed that issue at length. There are other times when, you know, I always say it has come to the point where until we set up the War Crimes Tribunal, we cannot begin to bring this packet of allegation. Oh yeah, people have alleged that I did something, you know, and some our society is so limited in terms of education. People run with misinformation.
Let me just make a passing comment. Let me make a passing comment. You know, I have written extensively and partly my position on the creation of a war crime code is clearly defined. Right. If I publish what I wrote, it will cause a lot of problem in Liberia. First and foremost, I've said I'm one of my kind in this part of the world. The best lawyers the ICC can boast of are posted on their website. I'm there. And I just want to say this. Look, when you talk about the creation of war crime code, for example, there are fundamental questions that are not being addressed. And many of the persons are just carrying the chorus, war crime code. They are not schooled, they are not trained in lawyering. Apart from going to school and getting a degree in law, you need to be trained. It's a courtroom practice, a training section. Let me tell you, Article 2 of the 1986 Constitution is clear. The supreme Ghanaian law of the Republic is the Constitution. The creation of war crime code will call for the amendment, constitutional amendment of so many articles in the Liberian Constitution, which was not augur well. For example, the sovereign appointing authority in this republic is vested solely and exclusively in the president under Article 54. If you have a war crime court, the war crime court will not be headed by a Liberian. There will be the United Nations will appoint a judge and maybe a Liberian judge. That would be a clear violation of the usurpation of the power of the president. The issue of the finality doctrine of under Article 66 of the 1986 Constitution is exclusively vested in the Supreme Court. Will that court be the final arbiter of justice, which would be a violation of Article 66? The Supreme Court has original jurisdiction over all remedial processes, statutory, prohibition, co-warranto, and the like, greater error. In this case, this court will be the one that will be hearing those things. That will be a clear violation. Look, my brother, there are so many fundamental constitutional crises that will develop that even the court, because the court will be on par with the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court say it's the final arbiter of all constitutional issue or issue on appeal, factual issues that are growing out of appeal. But brother, some of the people don't understand this thing. They're just going around war crime code. They don't know. If you look at the motto that is used in Sierra Leone, there's a provision in the Sierra Leone Constitution that provides for that. We don't have it here. You know, so somebody talking about, oh yeah, war crime code. First, you don't school. You are not school. You don't know why you're talking. You're just dancing around war crime code. You understand? The war crime code, even the TRC report. There are too many fundamental 9% of the TRC report was discarded by the Supreme Court on the basis of due process. That discarding part of the TRC report that being used. The TRC report cover reparation. Part of the reparation will be America. America, you go to for a reparation. People don't. My brother, people can't read. Look, I feel sick most time, and they are not lawyers. They don't understand. They don't go to the experts to ask for opinion. So look.
Well, counsel. Let me. There's are there any pending extradition proceeding for? I hate to make this about an individual because some of the individuals in our system, they just who they are. They are just nobody, so to speak, in an entire republic. Because when you particularize a broadcast about a republic and you narrow it down to an individual, that's not my style, because unless those individuals are newsworthy. But again, are there any extradition proceedings on the same Henry Costa? Because I hate to make this about Henry Costa. To me, Henry Costa it's not significant at all. More than what I want to hear about the Republican law. You know. So
look, listen to the Republic of Liberia is so huge. We are right now. I'm speaking to you from under my bed. That clearly tells you the state of fear and instability that COVID-19 has caused. Mm-hmm. There are more substantive issues to look at than the issue of Henry Costa.
Of course, I agree with you on that one.
It's too nebulous. It's too nebulous for especially the Office of the Solicitor General to address such an issue. He committed a offense, crime here and there, running here and there. Those are not substantive issues for people to look at. We look at the stability, the longevity of the lives of the Liberian people, and how we can overcome this deadly virus. Mr. Costa go and engage in a form of name-calling, invectives and vulgarity, trying to malign the character of the Solicitor General by alleging that the Solicitor General took bribe, but cannot name the person from whom the Solicitor General took the bribe. The person that was sued, you can clearly tell you that he is out, and these are part of the vicious campaign to make it to appear that he gains some level of relevance. Do I have to speak to that? Absolutely no. This government will stay. This government will stay the course to end its tenure, and this government, God willing, will win the second term and will govern for the better of this country. There are too many things that are happening in Liberia never seen before. Honorable Gray, if you visit Monrovia, you see streets are being built in the community, something we never saw before. All the guys who said they were well educated, they didn't have the kind of vision and the focus to direct the course of development in this country. Today, people drive in communities on paved road. Mr. Costa is a Liberian citizen. Mr. Costa, even though the name Costa doesn't have a direct Liberian root, but he's truly a Liberian citizen. He needs to tailor his effort in the direction that will help to complement ongoing development agendas that is taking place in this country. He should start the divisive politics of name calling and invectives. So to the best of my knowledge, to answer your question, there are more substantive and more important things to look at because first we have to survive, and second we have to concentrate, work together as a people, as a nation, to do great things for our people. So for us, I mean, Costa has not committed capital offense against the Republic. Has not. He may believe that he's needed for some reason here and there. I'm not aware for now. But and the manner and form in which he left, he has every reason to do that. That's how he wanted to leave. He was coming to Liberia. He came with a fun fair, people dancing in the street. You are leaving. He left under the cover of darkness. That's a decision he made, not me. I have nothing to do with that.
Counsel, the LACC, the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission, one would say for now is on hold because the individual that was confirmed to head that organization. That individual, for some reason, was renominated to be NEC boss, and he was not approved, or the president has withdrawn his nomination. Thus, living in your office is highly dependent upon the effort of LACC. Are you conversant with the LACC, the composure, their work, the effort they're doing to complement your work? Are you happy right now with the composition of that LACC?
Thank you. Let me tell you, you asked a very important question. And thank you for the question, for the insightful, statement you made just now. First, there are 4 phases when it comes to the invocation of Article 54 by the president. The president makes a nomination. That nomination is not an appointment. It's simply a nomination. That nomination goes to the Liberian Senate. The Liberian Senate does what they call the Senate examination or hearing, which ultimately may lead or may not lead to confirmation. If the person is not confirmed, the person returns to state quo and take, meaning the position you are in initially prior to the nomination, you go back to that position. If the person is confirmed, it's a second phase. The person now leaves on nomination, leaves on confirmation, and goes to what they do of appointment, presidential appointment. The person is then appointed by the president. When the person is appointed, the president goes to the office, and thereafter the person is commissioned, or the president is commissioned before the president takes office. So it's nomination, confirmation, appointment, and commission. Then he becomes a full-fledged employee of the institution or head of that institution. In the case of Councillor Wamudeke, he was nominated by the president. He went for confirmation hearing, and the confirmation was withdrawn. That withdrawal of the confirmation of the nomination does not automatically affect his position for which he was conferring a commission for. So he remains, inarguably by law, a bona fide head of the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. In the case of Councillor Edwin Martin, he remains county and state attorney for Mosquito County. Nothing has happened. It's this presidential authority that made a decision of the withdrawal. That withdrawal does not affect their original position. So all of them return to the original position to state of Guanti. The position they were in when the nomination was made.
Right.
That's the law. Yeah.
Well, Council, definitely so many questions loom. Of course, with me on the airwave here is Councillor Sema Serena Cephas, who serves as Solicitor General, Republic of Liberia, a gentleman that was rumored unfoundedly by some, low-level, wannabe journalists, come up with the rumor that he was tipped to be the next National Elections Commission chair. A rumor he has dismissed. So in case you're just joining me, on the phone there is Councillor Sema Serena Cephas. Well, Council, many questions loom. And, the confirmation hearing regarding Wamudeke, I can't overemphasize that it brought so many issues up. Lapses in our Supreme Court due process, their thoroughness before admitting people into the bar, and individuals coming there with fake credential, and all these kinds of irregularity loom over our system. Now that things have come up that have put a big question mark on this individual, and you don't want to comment on some of the things I brought up earlier, could he be the subject of removal or criminal investigation? Could he be?
When it comes to the question of citizenship, it's only the sovereign republic. It's a sovereign decision that will be made by a sovereign government.
Right.
Either a kufara or a naturalization. The Republic of Liberia, to the best of my knowledge, has no information as to whether or not there have been falsification or here and there. Honorable Wamudiki has indicated to you, was naturalized during the PRC regime. Article 95 is a bar. It prevents the review of any action taken by the PRC. Now, whether or not that decision is reviewable by a court process, I cannot say for sure. The Supreme Court will have to determine that. I can't speak to that because, as far as I'm concerned, and based on the fact on the year, from 1982 up to present, he has participated in many elections. Even if we were to recall or revoke his citizenship, he voted in all of the elections thereto. Are we going to revoke the vote he cast? Now, if we revoke all the votes he cast, wouldn't that have an effect on the electoral process?
No, but that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying, Counsel, that he is the subject of a criminal investigation.
Yeah, there's something we call you can't benefit from your own wrong. I will leave it at that and wait and see how it plays out. But to the best of my knowledge, there's nothing of that nature that has come to my attention.
All right. Well, Counsel, it's always a pleasure to have you on the air. Of course, you bring a wealth of experience. I hope you would find time. People like to see, so you can see some of the questions that flow on the screen. But like I said, majority of the.
I can answer 3 more. I can answer 3 more. Then we go.
The only thing I see it's regarding an individual. Like I said, my interest here in life is not about an individual. An individual is just an entity to in a nation, but not significant to some of the rising issues we have. The fact that our legal system right now is going through the type of challenges we're having. What about the police and their own assistance to your effort? You remember I talked about LACC. Now I'm talking about the police. The police is a vital role. Yes, go ahead, sir.
They're doing a great job. Even in the face of inadequate supply of logistics and other things. They're doing a great job. I've indicated to you, I lay out to you in clear and unambiguous terms that Liberia transition continues, and people are still, the system is still fragile. People will attack police, like what I was telling you, that the police went to close the church down, and the congregation, including the pastor, they barricaded the police and they beat the police, And that tells you that if the police has overreacted, you will hear it's the overreaction that would have gone out other than the conduct that they performed. That said, the police doing a great job. We're making significant progress. With time and event, this country will recover fully. It's better for us to have joy than war.
Yep.
That's why every time when the question come about constancy sue someone, I say, who's this person? But he can call my name. Somebody who defended, he can call my name, but you don't want to call the person who is sued. You see, so that tells you how the thing goes, But be that as it may, I can tell you that the police doing a great job.
So the last time you and I were here, we talked about what's her name, Ellen Cochran, and next we got to know that the case against her was dismissed. Now, there's another individual who has been alleged to be working in consonance with the Liberian government, which is Martha Washington, who happened to have served the TRC. Is she working with you guys? Because there's this conspiracy that she has switched sides.
I don't know. I have no idea. But every Liberian citizen has a privilege, can be given the privilege to work in government.
Right.
This government, the government of President Weah does not pick and choose. It does not have. It's not like the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government where you have to maybe there was someone like a czar, a czar type of leadership that was created everything had to go to Robert Sali. Whatever Robert said was how the government was wrong by a family. You know, that kind of stupid thing. We don't have it here. If you are qualified and if you are qualified and you can come and do your lobby and you get an appointment, you can work. Nobody is going to ask you which political party you coming from. There are more Unity Party people even in this government than seditions, you know. So if there's information that Martha Washington is working in the government, that's a great news. You know, that would be a great news. I have no idea on that. I think the only government that isolated Liberians and are using pick and rule and trying to reinvent the wheel of American hegemony, American Liberian hegemony was the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. And I feel bitter about it every time I think about that because.
But one could say you represented her as counsel.
Listen, after 600, this is the reason why I feel bitter about it. After 600 years, when they outlawed slavery, and most of these guys came to Liberia and were having this kind of funny name, the last name of their slave master, people try to extort themselves and call themselves, you know, Congo. I feel bitter about it. I mean, it's a shame because to call you say a Congo is to say you are a slave, you know. And that's the kind of system that was being installed by this regime, by that regime I'm referring to. You know, people, you know, I'm a this, I'm a that. I feel bitter because when you call you say Congo man, you say I'm a slave. You know. Now the argument would be you say you represented. I did not represent Madame Sirleaf. I only provided a legal opinion on an issue that she wanted to sue. She, however, did that though. She was president and sued the New Brew newspaper and won the case. She never appeared in court. And who was a lawyer in that case? Betty Lamy. You know, from Sherman Law Firm.
Counsel, you know, the issue surrounding Madame Sirleaf and people branding themselves as you know, Congo people is one of the bone of contentions in the survival of our nation. Madame Sirleaf went at length to disassociate herself from that so-called hegemony. By pointing people into sensitive positions who would otherwise not be branded as Congo people. The Minister of Finance was one. You can name, unless you're telling me this individual we install as puppets.
You know, there are certain things in the law we call the assimilados. There are certain things in law we call assimilado. You may not be Congo, but you may be somebody who assimilated in the system to install such a backward system. You understand? So you don't necessarily have to be Congo to do that. Yeah. When you are assimilado, you can do it.
Well, Counsel, I think I've exhausted my time. Is there anything you would like to inform us?
I want to wish all those guys. Yeah, I want to wish the Costa, the guys, all our credit. I want to wish them well. The information that's been circulated about me is false. I'm always what I am, and I will always do what is right. We'll defend the law and sovereignty of this country. We'll do it for all Liberians, irrespective of tribe, nationality, creed, race. We'll do it. It doesn't matter which region you come from. It becomes our responsibility. We see ourselves as what? The stage is set for us on which we are now performing. After a while, we'll fade away, and all people will come and do their best. In the meantime, we'll continue to do what the law says, and we'll continue to protect all Liberians. We want to say we have the greatest president of all time in the 173-year history of our country. This is the very first time that the roads are being built in the communities. We want our friends to come and see evidence of performance. It's not going to be that all in the interior. Other posts said they 1,000 kilometers of road. You go in the interior, you can see any road. But you come to Monrovia, you can see compelling evidence of road construction. Thank you very much for this platform. We'll always be available whenever we are called upon to come. We'll always continue to serve the Liberian people. Thank you, and thank you to all those who have been listening tonight.
Thank you, Counsel. Stay safe and continue to remain under your bed. And COVID-19 shall come and pass too. And I hope you and your family are staying safe. And if I have any desire to bring you back on, we will bring you back on. But you have bigger ears to get some of the say in the of the moment. Who would you think, in your own wide imagination, would head NEC?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, Council. Council. Thank you so much, and thanks for taking off your time. I know the day is fast spent at your end. And ladies and gentlemen, of course, on the phone was Councillor Sema Serena Cephas. Thank you so much, Council. Are you still there? Okay. Yeah, on the phone was Sema Serena Cephas. He was, just dispelling the rumor by, unfounded rumor that came up that he was taped as the replacement of Wamudiki. He said it's not true. The president has withdrawn, of course, the nomination of Wamudiki. The president, in his own right moment, will probably renominate somebody else. But in the meantime, it's not Councillor Sema Serena Cephas. According to him, he's focused on his job of recovering more than $4.6 billion of stolen wealth by former officials of government. And that is his key priority. There are bottlenecks, of course, in the system, but he continues to use his own wherewithal. When it comes to some people have their own, minor interests about individuals. I'm not in no form, shape, consider other people to be more pervasive, more solvent than our republic. For me, my republic comes first. You can go like an individual, fine, but for me, certain individuals should be stopped from creating further confusion. And we don't know. Our conflict, we probably love to see conflict in the Republic of Liberia. Majority of us do. I mean, for us, this is where we find our pleasure. You hear rumor, and then they flip the rumor, and then there's conflict, and then we are at our best when we win. And we have people who are notorious for setting the moment so that Liberia can begin to continue to be a conflict zone. For some of us, people don't know, we may not like this government of the day, but then again, I want to say a peaceful Liberia than to see one where people running helter skelter. So yes, those who fan the flame of those who say inflammatory things, unfounded things. Say, for instance, out of nowhere yesterday came the rumor that Councillor Sema Serena Cephas was tipped to be the replacement of Wamudiki at NEC. It's lie, falsehood, unfounded. No iota of truth. There's no centella of truth. Nothing closer to the truth is even attached to that statement. It's flat lie. And this is how our republic, has carried itself for years and years. And every now and then we have these kinds of individuals who just come and they have loud mouth and they spread rumor and then send the rest of the country at chaos. And people start conjecturing. Some people say it was Councillor Sema Serena Cephas who actually influenced the president to appoint Wamudiki. All of these kinds of rumors. Sometimes it is heartening to just hear a group of people, even those who are expected to be more educated, you put a question mark on the kind of things they will believe and buy into. They themselves start spreading those rumors. And we have a war to fight. Misinformation, disinformation, illiteracy. Even those who speak English, to the extent, if you solidify, you wear their statement, no sense. But some people, this is what amuses them. That's what they want to hear. And anybody who comes closer, you understand, to end those kinds of entertainment, joyful moment, you become the enemy. You understand? The council was here tonight. He has dispelled this rumor, and this publication will remain here for as long as you want to, on demand. If you go on